All right, let's talk about 3 players that you need to buy low in Dynasty Fantasy Football. Kyle, who's our first one?
Man, our first one is Jaylen Waddle. He is criminally undervalued right now. He had a rough year with injuries and what have you, and this guy is an absolute stud football player. Tyreek Hill, look, we're talking Dynasty. Tyreek Hill has, 2 years left before he said he was going to retire? Like, that's his max. So, Jaylen Waddle, hang in there for – he proved last year he can, produce playing alongside Hill. But if you get him now where he's valued at, in 2 years, you've got an easy top 10 receiver on your roster for probably another 10 years. So buy him now, buy him low, and reap the rewards later.
Agree. He was out completely for 3 games this season, but there were multiple other games where he got knocked out early when he was producing, right? The very end of the season happened, first round of the playoffs even. So he's really undervalued because he finished number 34 wide receiver. Like you said, eventually Tyreek Hill will be out of the way. Waddle will be the man. But until then, you're still going to get a great wide receiver at a pretty decent value.
100%.
All right, who's your next guy?
The next guy, Kyler Murray. A lot of people are down on this guy. He came back during the season off of that ACL injury. What happens with every player that come back from an ACL injury? They struggle at the beginning of their time back. It was no different with Kyler. He came back. He still had some pretty good games in there, but he struggled a little bit. Didn't put up the elite numbers we hoped he would. However, he's got Trey McBride. They're going to be in a position to draft Marvin Harrison Jr., which I'm assuming is probably going to happen. It's more likely than not to happen.
That'd be my guess, right?
So they still got James Conner running back. They've got a pretty good offensive group going there. I think Kyler Murray returns back to form after having an offseason healthy, getting ready, playing a full season. I think he's back in the top 10 of quarterbacks starting next year, and you can get him really cheap right now. A lot of people are down on him.
Oh, but he loves Call of Duty and doesn't study his playbook. Shut the hell up. This guy produces fantasy points. That's what he does. He is quick. He's elusive. He gets those points on the ground, which is what we love in fantasy quarterbacks, right? He scored in double digits in every game he played in, even coming back off of that injury. So, I mean, his upside is there all the time. He finished only starting playing in week 10. He finished as the number 27 quarterback on the season. Granted, there were a lot of injured quarterbacks and stuff. So a lot of people played, partial season, but he still finished in the top 32, which is pretty impressive considering how many games he actually played. The guy has huge upside. And like you said, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride, beautiful weapons to have.
He's got some nice weapons. I mean, even if you're talking about like Michael Wilson, right, as the number 2 receiver, and stuff, like he's got some weapons. Michael Carter, even behind James Conner. Like they had last year, James Conner.
Moore's not bad.
They didn't have a ton of great running back options after Conner got hurt. So it's like they've got some weapons. He didn't have like the elite rushing numbers that he had in the past, but again, coming back off that injury, a little bit tentative with that, getting used to how that feels again. And, I think, like you say, if he stays healthy all offseason, comes back next year, I think he finishes easily in the top 10 quarterbacks.
I agree. He is a fantastic fantasy quarterback.
Yep.
Awesome. Who's your third guy?
Third guy, Rhamondre Stevenson. Had a really rough year this year. A lot of it was they played a very tough running back schedule. Another part of that was horrible quarterback and just overall team play. And, he also finished the season down the stretch with a high ankle sprain and missed a handful of games. So he finished really, really low, didn't live up to expectations. But new coaching staff coming in. They're going to end up drafting a new QB early in this draft. I think Rhamondre gets back to form next year when, teams have to respect that quarterback again, get him in that workhorse role because he's one of those that kind of gets better as he gets in his groove and gets more and more carries, So, and with better quarterback play comes more catches, which he's proven he is very proficient at. And that's where you get PPR numbers. Right now, people are so down on him because of this recency bias of this season. I'm going out and trying to get him.
Agreed. Missed about 5.5 games there at the end of the season and still finished, 35 running back overall. And, the issue we've always had with Patriots running backs, right? Avoid that backfield. And Rhamondre Stevenson seemed to kind of blow up that whole theory, and then this year he kind of got hurt. But Bill Belichick's not going to be there anymore. And that was the whole reason we were like, avoid that backfield, right? So Rhamondre Stevenson, like you said, he's been able to run the ball and catch the ball. So he's dynamic in both aspects of the game, which makes him really dangerous. We've seen in the past. I would be curious to know what he would have finished this last year had he not missed the last 6 or 5.5 games. Like, that's a huge dent in fantasy production. So he finishes at least an RB2, even with the amount that Zeke was kind of cutting into his workload. So yeah, go out and get Rhamondre now.
Yeah. Zeke's gone. Belichick's gone. Rhamondre back to workhorse. I'm all in.
Oh yeah, gimme.